Just by way of introductions, my name is Darren Thomas. I'm the Chief Product Officer here and one of the co-founders of WethosAI. I'm also joined by Jenny Morton. Jenny, do you want to say hi to the folks?
Yeah, hi, my name's Jenny Morton. I'm the Behavioral Science Program Manager here at Wethos, and I've been here for about 3.5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jenny's been instrumental in all of the behavioral science work that we have here that we're excited to share with you today. One of the things that you will notice next to our names is there's a 4-digit number there. Mine's 5541. Jenny is 4535. So that is part of our underpinning behavioral science framework. So just keep those numbers in mind. You'll also see it on our backdrop as well. And we'll go into more detail as to what those means. So, okay. So what is it that we're trying to solve here? Well, human insights and behavioral science and psychometrics have been around for a long time, and they're hugely valuable to organizations. It's why organizations invest a lot of money in it. We built the whole company and the whole platform rooted in that behavioral science and human insights. But the problem with that generally, historically, has been it's great. You get to find out about yourself, generally in isolation, but hyper valuable. But then that tends to teeter off over time as you forget or you don't really know how to apply that practically. So you might understand yourself, but then, well, how do you bring that into a meeting? How do you have all of that with you? So there's not really been that productivity angle or that practical usage in day-to-day life of human insights. And then if you look at the other end of the spectrum, where there's all of these great productivity tools out there, but none of those have the context of the people that you're working with. And we fundamentally believe the best teams and the most productive teams are those teams that understand each other, that come from a foundation of psychological safety and trust. So what Wethos does is it blends those two worlds of those deep human insights and bringing together productivity solutions so that now you can take that practical understanding of knowledge you have of yourself and others and use that in your day-to-day workflow. So by that, we have laid out our core philosophy around AI collaboration and coherence. And we split that into 3 core tenets, what we call the mirror, the lens, and the flow. What the mirror is designed to do is to give you that deep, robust understanding of yourself, all of the traits and the biases and the instincts that you bring to work every day, and allow you to interact with our platform to learn about yourself at that very deep level. And that self-awareness is absolutely key, particularly when you start to apply that into the workplace environment, and actually, to be fair, other aspects of your life as well. So that gives you that deep introspective learning and understanding of yourself. Then the next part of the philosophy, or the second tenet, is what we call the lens. So this gives you that same core understanding that the mirror gives yourself, but applied to your colleagues and your teammates so that you can truly understand them, but not just in isolation of you working with one other person. How does that all come together in the overall understanding of the team in context? So in aggregate, what are some of the team traits, team biases that you should be aware of so that you can mitigate against some of those or have that understanding and work around them? So the mirror is understanding yourself. Lens is understanding others. And then flow is how you get your work done with all of that understanding. And that's really what the focus of this webinar is today, is our evolution into that world of applying everything that we've built up over the years in terms of that deep human understanding and applying that practically into your day-to-day work. So with that said, Jenny is going to lift the lid now and talk to you about the core behavioral science that powers everything that you're about to see in this webinar. So Jenny, over to you.
Some of you may be familiar with the core behavioral science. Some of you may not. So if you are, this will be a nice refresh. And if you haven't, this will be a nice introduction. Our framework is really built on a ton of research and decades of testing. We've had over 5,000 team studies, and it really focuses on behavior in motion, how people adapt, communicate, and collaborate in real time. At its core, we really set out to answer one question: how can people best leverage their behavioral styles to work together? We use what's called the situational contingency theory, which means that there really isn't a single best style, only the right one for that moment. Wethos does not label people. We observe how people show up in context across 4 core behavioral skills. The first is ideas, which really is looking at how you absorb information and express your thoughts. The 2 anchors for that are visionary and practical. Visionary styles see broad patterns first, connect dots, and really ask, what if? Practical styles start with concrete details, refine what it currently exists, and make it better. It's not about creativity or intelligence. It's simply where your brain starts when you're presented with new information. The relational scale measures how you process emotion and engage interpersonally, from interpersonal to factual. Interpersonal styles pick up on tone, tension, and emotion across relationships. They're very intuitive. Factual styles separate feeling from information, aiming for clarity and transparency. Neither is better. It's just the lens you naturally use when connecting with others. Action measures how you pursue goals while considering others and the urgency for closure, from expedient to methodical. Expedient types drive progress and ask, is it moving? Methodical types ensure alignment and ask, how is it moving? They're seeking clarity. It's not about leadership or planning. It's really about how you go from decision to action. Finally, order measures how you structure and complete your work, from structured to flexible. Structured types love process, precision, and finishing every step. Flexible types adapt on the fly, focusing on impact over procedure. It's not about organization, skills, or perfection. It's really about your natural rhythm for getting things done. When you put all 4 of these scales together, you get the code behind how people think, connect, act, and execute, the foundation for every high-performing team. Grounded in situational context, Wethos helps teams pause, read the room, and adapt in real time. Then you have WethosXO, our adaptive AI collaborator, to bring it all to life, turning friction into flow, miscommunication into understanding, and hierarchy into genuine collaboration. Next, I'll show an example of Darren and my styles. So here you can see Darren and I are very similar across 3 of 4 scales, and then we're very, very different. We're both visionary on ideas, which means we see possibilities first and tend to think out loud. We're almost identical on relational, so when you look at these 2 scales together, the way we're going to process information and make decisions is very similar. We're looking to reach consensus, and we don't mind taking a little bit of extra time to make sure that all thoughts are heard. On action, we're again very aligned, both near the expedient end, focused on momentum and quick progress. However, I'm a high 3 versus Darren, who is a lower 4, meaning it might take me an extra second to ask a few clarifying questions and want to ensure a little bit more alignment than Darren. Where the main difference comes is on order. I'm in order 5 and Darren is in order 1. That's very, very different from having 3 out of 4 scales almost identical. Because we know this, we can catch ourselves before this becomes a friction point between us. We work together all the time, so having this context allows us to what we call at Wethos Flex, where I can meet Darren where he is and he can meet me where I am. Whether that means Darren providing me more information or me maybe asking for less frequent updates because I know that's not how Darren prefers to work. So all of these insights are great, but insights alone isn't enough. Most organizations stop at this awareness, and we go further. We embed behavioral intelligence into daily work, linking calendars, documents, and team conversations. That's how reflection becomes execution, turning individual awareness into collective momentum.
And this is the big step that we're taking today that we want to introduce you to, which is advancing that vision that we've always had, that we wanted to be anchored and we will continue to be anchored in behavioral intelligence, but we're building the platform for action, for getting work done. And by bringing these 2 worlds together of the behavioral science and the productivity capabilities, we're able to guide you every step of the way, which we're going to see in these demonstrations here. So we took a look at this, and we've spoken to a number of our customers and our users, and thank you to our customers that have joined us today on this call as well. And there is a huge amount of value in that behavioral science of being able to jump into the platform and interact with WethosXO. And for those of you that don't know what WethosXO is, we're about to see it, but that is always available assistant that is trained in the Wethos behavioral science, that you can get to understand yourself and others and particular scenarios that you're working in. Maybe it's a difficult conversation that you need to have with your boss or somebody that works for you. So that will always be available as a first-class capability in our product. So you can always go as deep as you want with that. But when it comes to productivity and getting stuff done, we've taken a slightly different step here. And we've applied that context that WethosXO knows about you and others. And you can really think of it as that invisible hand that is guiding these productivity solutions. So that behavioral science is always on and always working in the background. And we make intelligent decisions as to when we surface that. So it might be more prominent in certain scenarios and less prominent in others, but it's always there. And that's why we call it the invisible hand, because it's guiding everything that you do within the platform. So to that end, this is where we'll get into the meat of what Brainstorms are and introduce that to you today. For those customers that we have on the call, this was shipped a couple of weeks ago. I know that a number of you have been using it and getting value from it. For those of you that are brand new to this, let me just kind of talk about what it is that they are, and then we'll jump in and show you. So it really establishes 5 main criteria, and it's built to be this collaboration first and AI enhanced platform. The human is always orchestrating this blend between behavioral science, company knowledge, and critical thinking that we deliver at the speed of instinct. So you can really get to those decisions, outcomes, and actions much faster. So it enables us to break down the silos. This is designed to be a cross-functional collaboration platform, so you can add anybody within your organization into a brainstorm. Brainstorms are outcome driven, so generally you're trying to achieve some goal. So you can add in all of the groups or the individuals that can help you along that journey. And actually, XO can even suggest who would be best suited to help you with those tasks. But within that, there is that established psychological safety platform. So when Jenny was talking about the differences between her work styles and mine, we know on that order scale that Jenny drives precision, leaves a lot more detail, where I'm the one that's likely to go off the rails and go, oh, well, we should just try this real quick, or we should just do this. But knowing that that is our default behaviors, we can start to mitigate against that. And we know that about each other. And that, of course, extends into everybody on the team as well. And even if it's a new person on the team, you can just ask XO about it and you can get to that instant understanding. As we're going through the brainstorms, this collaborative chat, we're able to maintain decision transparency because we can ask WethosXO for summaries every step of the way, or when was that decision made to turn the button in our UI from red to blue, and why was that? So you can get to that decision transparency in an instant by leveraging this capability. And because we've restructured and reimagined the future of work, we've created this in a very organized way to help drive innovation throughout the organization by using this collaborative AI enhanced space. And we really treat WethosXO as a teammate, just somebody that you can ask questions to, you can tap into at any given moment. It can go off and do deep research for you. It can provide advice and guidance on all of the conversation that is happening in the brainstorms. So think of this as where collaboration meets conversation, and your AI assistant helps you make much faster decisions and get to actions and outcomes much quicker. So with that said, it is time for a demo. I did see we had one, I think, chat question come in. Did I get that right? Maybe I was misalerted there. Nope. Okay. Well, let's go straight into, oh, sorry, there was one in the Q&A. So what happens when people on the team have conflicting work styles? Does XO referee or just give suggestions? Jenny, that sounds like that's a perfect question for you to answer while I get the demo ready.
Yeah. So as far as referee, XO can play mediator, can provide suggestions. So the answer to your question is it can definitely do all of the above and more. You can give specific context to say this is exactly what's happening, this is who it's happening with. You can have a private session with XO. The other person will not be notified that you're saying, hey, I'm having a problem. And that way you can get very specific or just broad suggestions of how to fix the scenario or just improve the overall working relationship.
Great. Thanks so much, Jenny. Okay, and please keep those questions coming in so that we can keep this interactive, and we'll go and answer those at the time that they come in. So, okay, so let's show you brainstorms here. I've logged into XO. I've gone into my brainstorm session here, and you can see all of the brainstorms that we have listed here. But what we're going to do for our first one is we're going to jump into the Learning and Development Product Team Initiative. So the idea here is that we are going to determine, based on company knowledge, so I'm going to show you this here, that we can upload artifacts into these brainstorms. So perhaps I want to learn about the L&D initiatives that we have here. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to ask WethosXO about them. So we're going to find out about the L&D initiatives that we have within the organization here. And we're going to start to shape those for the individual members of our team. So here I get a summary of the document. So we're just going to read through that here now. And Jenny, I know that you're involved in this as well in terms of shaping those plans. But if I look at this, I think it's probably good to maybe just focus in on the individual learning plans for folks that we have now.
So I might ask XO, what are the main focus areas of the L&D initiatives based on the document? It just answered that pretty clearly here based on what Darren had asked. So I might say, let's dive in on the individual learning plans specifically.
And as Jenny's typing that, we'll see the output here appears on my screen. So we're in this collaborative space. So I can see what Jenny's typed, and then I can see also what XO's output is. Okay, so now this is actually really good. So now I'm going to tap into XO and say, well, okay, well, let's focus on the personalized learning journeys for each member of the brainstorm. And let's recommend a certification or course for each one. But again, we want to bring that back to their Wethos style, so anchoring on the behavioral science and their job role as well, so that we can start to bring this to bear. So we can see that XO is analyzing all of the team members that we have within this particular brainstorm, and then it's going to come back and provide that guidance for us. So let's see what we have here. So it's made some recommendations for me. As you can see, it's taking into account what it knows about me from a behavioral science perspective. It's giving me a recommendation, why it fits for me. Here's what it's recommending for Jenny. And here's what it's recommending for Aiden. So Aiden is a member of our team. But now I want to extend this out, and I want to do this collaboratively. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to tag Aiden into the conversation and see what he thinks. So what's happened now with the tagging, it's a good moment to let you know that every time you tag somebody, they're notified. You'll see this bell icon that I have here. So Aiden has been immediately notified that he's been referenced in this brainstorm, and now he's able to go and take a look at his recommendation that XO has come up with. Let's see. Oh, so he's actually interacted directly with XO. So XO recommended that he learns Tableau, but this goes back to the human orchestrator in the loop saying, well, I'm actually already comfortable with this. So can you give me another certification course that's more focused on the area that he's interested in, which is the soft skills focus? And Jenny and I can see that because we're in this collaborative brainstorm, and we can see here the reason why, his strengths, how this is going to fit, and what is it that we can do. So it looks like That's hit Aidan's criteria as well. Jenny is head of the program. Does that fit in with what you would like to see too?
Yes, that makes sense. It's tied into his Wethos style. That is exactly what we were looking for. And given he was already familiar with Tableau, this seems like a great alternative. So now I might ask XO, since we have a plan in place, can you summarize it, create a simple rollout plan, and explain how progress will be reviewed?
And really what's happening here behind the scenes is there's a lot that's being taken into account here. So it's the overall L&D initiatives that we brought in through company knowledge. It's Jenny, the L&D program, being in the loop. We've brought in Aidan as well to have input into the suggestion. And then we're bringing it all together here with XO actually creating the plan now that we have Aidan's buy-in. So that was a very, very fast, I think we did that in 5 or 6 minutes of making sure that we align with the company objectives, that we've looked at the plan, that we've had a suggestion, we've had engagement from the individual Aidan here. We did a reshaping, and now that we have all of that agreed and aligned, then we've put the formalized plan together all through XO. So that's the 2026 learning plan done in about 5 minutes flat in a collaborative brainstorm.
Yeah, it's really a shared intelligence space. It's not one person prompting in isolation. And like Darren said, we were able to have XO know who's in the room, know how they learn best, and tailor recommendations and reference higher learning objectives.
Great. Okay, so let me just check the chat, see if there's any questions that have come in. I think there are a couple. So let me read. Okay, so the first one is, how is Wethos different from just using ChatGPT inside Slack and Teams? Well, it all comes down to context and understanding the individuals, understanding the team, and understanding the outcomes and the goals. So with ChatGPT, it would not have had an understanding of Aidan's inherent behavioral style, the work style, and the courses and the capabilities that would appeal to him from a learning perspective. So it's keeping that context. It's also the context of understanding the company objectives, the company knowledge, so we can bring in all of the company documentation in a secure way inside the brainstorms. And then it's that invisible hand guiding that conversation and those outcomes in a very, very rapid and highly collaborative space, and tagging in the expert when you need it. So it is differentiated insofar as understanding at that deep level the individual, the team, and the goals, versus getting some vanilla advice from a contextually aware chat GPT. So that's the differentiator, is bringing in that behavioral science piece and being able to real-time chat with each other and the AI all in that context.
2 more questions.
So, all right, very intrigued by the science focus and collaborative focus when unlocking it feels contingent about moving work into the Brainstorm platform, which is not in the flow of work, unlike Teams, Zoom, Outlook, etc. So you have success stories of how people spend lots of time in brainstorms to generate these rich insights. Yes, we do. So I will caveat by saying we're a couple of weeks old now in terms of this capability, but we were using it a lot internally ourselves in terms of the lead up to the testing. So what I can tell you from a personal experience is developing this webinar. We did everything in brainstorms. We leveraged brainstorms to determine the talk track, what were the areas of focus, giving the objective of those conferences, all in brainstorms. It can create scripts for you if you need to. We've leveraged it for roadmap planning here. So bringing in all of the features that we have in our hopper, having WethosXO do research in terms of what are the emerging trends, and building that roadmap and interlocking it. For our customers, in the 2 weeks since we've launched it, we of course don't have access into what they're talking about in the brainstorms. The engagement in the product really start to uptake, where people are spending more time because of this capability. Now, the other part of that is, well, it's not in the flow of work. That's true. So you can think about that maybe Slack and Teams are where conversation happens, but here is where work gets done. But because of how we're architected, as part of our future direction, we of course want to meet people where they are. So we do have the capability of of bringing these rich insights directly into those platforms. So being able to interact with Calendar, for example, and asking about meeting advice, or being able to interact inside of Teams or Slack is absolutely directionally where we want to go. So how do brainstorms move a discussion into actual decision or deliverable? Well, we saw the deliverable, what makes the outcome real rather than just a better conversation. Well, we saw the outcome happen in this particular demo where we now have the plan for Aiden and how we're going to measure and track against it, which can be shared. So there's a deliverable there. I think the next example that we go through will help answer that as well. So rather than take too much time, I will show the next capability in the context of this question of how the outcome feels real. So for this next example, we're going to talk about a new product feature. So I'm going to jump into this particular brainstorm. We've uploaded some supporting documentation here. So we have a product requirements document for an admin dashboard that I'm just going to show you what's in there by asking WethosAI. And then we're going to go into a scenario where we are going to start to plan to put this into the sprint. So here's what's in the document. And now that we have that, let's get into a brainstorm with Jenny. We're going to tag in our colleague Aiden again here.
Yeah, so we're going to see what Aiden thinks about this product requirements document that Darren and I put together. We want to hear his thoughts and see if we are aligned on the approach.
So we can see once again that Aiden has been, that there's a requirement for him to go and take a look at the document and to see what his thoughts are here. You can see in this collaborative space that Aiden's now typing, so be curious to see what his thoughts are. Okay, so let's see here. So, okay, that's not good for us because we really need to get this in. So we have a customer dependency on getting this. So what I'm suggesting here is that in this brainstorm that Jenny and I jump into a breakout and see if we can refine this PRD quickly. So let's now tag in XO here and let's just get a little bit of behavioral insights in terms of what's going on. I do think we can get this done quickly, but let's see what XO thinks given Aiden's Wethos style as to how much detail we should put into this PRD in order to get his buy-in and in order to make him comfortable with what we have here and get it into this sprint. So once again, this kind of answers some of the questions that came up in the chat, that this context of the individual is key, that we can assess his style and it will help shape Jenny and I's conversation of understanding what it is that he needs to see. Based on his style, it should be a highly detailed, practical, and data-driven, and a high-level visionary document will likely be met with skepticism, which is what we've seen here. So that's super useful insights for Jenny and I to iterate on.
So I'm now asking for XO to help us fill in some of the technical requirements for the product requirements document that will help Aiden feel more comfortable with the approach.
Okay, so now we've tagged in Expo to expedite not only the decision-making process, but that call to action. So I want to reference back that last question that we got. How do we turn a better conversation into something that's a lot more practical and doable? So here, what Exo has been able to do is to break down that high-level PRD and has proposed the technical requirements that we have here. So you can see the detail that is put in on it. And to me, I think this looks great. So Jenny, if you can pop that back into the main PRD document, then it'll be a good time to jump back into the main brainstorm and get Aiden's feedback.
Yep, I will do that right now.
So while Jenny's doing that, this is a good segue for me to explain a little bit more in terms of what's going on in the background here. So I'm just going to jump back into that main admin dashboard. So you can see that we added in enterprise knowledge here, and Jenny has just updated the document. And because it's synced actually connected to our Google Drive. Because the brainstorm is synced to the Google Drive, as that document gets updated, that automatically goes into the context here. So it's that real-time collaboration space, not just here within the brainstorm, but within that company knowledge as well, so that as things evolve, we're always working on the latest and the up-to-date document here. So let's see where we're at. It looks like it updated and indexed a few seconds ago with those updated requirements. What I'm going to do now that we have that is tag Aiden back in and have him take another look at it and perhaps work with XO and see if it's got that level of detail that he needs. So let's see what Aiden is coming up with here. Hopefully we've started to accelerate getting this capability into his next sprint that he's currently planning for. So you can see here that Aiden is now asking, and we can see that XO is now saying that it looks like Darren and Jenny have added the new section, the proposed technical requirements framework. So if you recall, that's what Jenny and I did in the breakout. We understood Aiden's style and we reworked and we redid that PRD and made sure that we were hitting on the things that he wanted to see, being a very practical thinker at that. So XO is now given the breakdown for Aiden. Let's see what he says with regards to what he's seen. We've achieved our objectives that he's going to make room for it in the upcoming sprint. It looks like he's got the technical details that he needs, but he wants some help assigning the stories out to the engineers. So let's take a look at that, or maybe Jenny can help us with that piece.
Sure, can ask XO to do this.
Okay, so you can see that Jenny has asked XO to create the user stories for this feature and assign them to the engineers in the brainstorm. So again, this is where we're going into the action. And for each story, we have a suggested owner. So we have full knowledge and full context of our engineering team here, their different work styles, but also their roles and responsibilities, so that we can immediately start to build these stories and have suggested owners for all of these. And again, all of that has come in with a blend of behavioral science, company knowledge, the outcome that we want to get from within the brainstorm, and bringing this together in that very, very rapid capability so that we can get to these decisions and the outcomes at the speed of instinct. So I'm hoping that example also helped to answer that last question that we got as to how these translate into action. Jenny, is there anything to add on any of the takeaways from this one?
Just that you can see XO didn't just fix a document. It helped Darren and I adapt for Aiden's perspective and technical requirements, and then built a structured delivery plan with user stories and task assignments with all of the behavioral science baked in, which is something that without this probably would have taken Darren, Aiden, and I at least a week to do.
Yes, exactly. So, okay, let's just do a real quick last example, and then we can open it up for any more questions that we may have here. But this one, let's do a live brainstorm to determine what should we show in our next webinar. We love doing webinars here at Wethos. We love the blend of showing some product features or some more general concepts and what's going on in the AI space. And so let's kind of figure out together what the next one should be. So in this particular brainstorm, we've added in a little bit of context here. So we've got the company objectives, we've got the product roadmap, we've got the groups and brainstorms documentation here. Let's just ask what we've got coming up in the near-term plans. And then maybe we'll try and shape based on what's going on in the market. What would be sort of the most impactful thing that we would want to take a look at here? Jenny, can you just carry out some external research for us and just see what's kind of going on in the AI space right now?
Right now, XO is looking up.
Okay, so it looks like the trends at the moment are agentic AI systems going mainstream. Yeah, absolutely. Generative AI for personalized content creation, ROI-focused initiatives. That's interesting. So we've got a lot of that work coming up. Ethical and governance, industry-specific adoption, AI product development, and edge and local AI. So that's XO's instant research of those trends. So what we might want to do now is say, So let's have EXO take all of these things into consideration and see what it comes up with in terms of what would be more on the cutting edge for our next webinar topic. So we're mapping the roadmap to trends. It looks like the fact that future of work is agentic, that perhaps our upcoming WethosEXO voice agent would be the number one thing to hear. And also, you'll notice that the second one is that measuring ROI with AI-powered analytics, which it pulled from the trends, shift to ROI focused initiatives and practical tools. If I go up even further here, you'll see that we have the analytics dashboard to measure a lot of this return on culture and decision acceleration coming. So these look like good topics. Jenny, I'm not sure if our CMO Rahul is around to weigh in on this. See if you can tag him in.
So he would have just gotten a notification to come see what's going on. He could quickly ask EXO to sum up what Darren and I have been talking about.
So we can see that Rahul is, I think he's started to come in and type. So let's see if he's going to add to the conversation here and weigh in with his thoughts. Okay. So he likes option 2. So that was the data decisions, measuring ROI with AI-powered analytics. So now I can say, I'm going to send that into EXO. So you can see that we made an instant decision with the help of EXO and collaborating between us. And now EXO is going to start to build out the outline of the slide deck with some of the key points, the visuals that we need to put in. So this has given us a really kind of key insight in terms of, in minutes, as you saw happening before you, we went from the raw roadmap to understanding the trends and the topics are out there, taking into account what EXO knows about our upcoming features, knowing that the next webinar is a month away, then what is it that is going to be the most impactful that we can show to make sure that we're on trend, that we're also differentiating, and it's given us a great start with this slide deck here. That is Brainstorms, and let's just see if Rahul has any final thoughts for us before we wrap on this particular one. We can see that he's typing in here, but I think the point we want to emphasize is whatever you're doing in your work organization, whatever goals that you have, whatever you're trying to achieve, you can get there much, much faster with that deep knowledge of working with one another, that psychological safety, but then applying that into your flow of work.
It's now doing a full summary of our conversation, the decisions that were made. Well, it's even given us a target audience. And now it's creating a marketing plan for our next webinar.
So decision to action instantaneously. Okay, let me check if we have any questions. We do not right now, but this is a good time to do a quick recap. Any questions from the audience? We'll pause a moment and see if we have any that are coming in. And if not, we'll share all of our contact details. And we're happy to answer anything after the event and offline. But let me just check the chat. Okay, nothing for us for right now. So just a couple of things. Once again, we'll share all of this out. There's a prime directive, a letter from our CEO, Stu McClure, that is available. I certainly encourage everybody to give that a read. The links will be sent out alongside of this recording. There's a very comprehensive white paper that talks about the ROI of psychological safety. You can contact us, WethosAI, and we can run you through demos, get you set up on the platform. You're also able to go to our website and then sign up and get started on a free trial as well.
Anything in the roadmap about giving Wethos access to emails, team chats, etc.?
Yeah, so that really does fall under sort of the company knowledge. So let me sort of answer, the answer is yes, but I will caveat that by saying everything will be opt-in. We feel that that is very important, that the user maintains complete control. So right now we interface with cloud storage, and we do that in a secure and safe way so that you can bring in your documents, your company knowledge. You can also interface with your calendar so that we can provide detailed calendar advice for you as well. But yes, as we expand this out, we will also give users the option to bring in their emails and chats so that we can start to identify and get more nuance in terms of how you talk, how you behave, so that we can make sure that when we're providing guidance for others working with you, that it is really pinpoint and nuanced and is the best possible outcome for that conversation, both for you receiving it and the person giving it. So yes, that's absolutely on the near-term roadmap, but we will be doing that in a responsible and secure way.
As well as making Wethos very central to your workflow through sync points like we showed. So coaching, super personalized, all of that, but also really putting us at the center of your day-to-day.
Thank you so much for attending. We sincerely appreciate all of your attention today, spending an hour with us. We hope it's useful for all of our existing customers that are on the call. You have access to Brainstorms today that you can start using. For everybody else, we have all of the contact details so that you can get in touch with us. And we will be happy to run bespoke demos for you, answer any questions you have, and get you set up on the platform. So thank you so much. Sincerely appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.